I'd like to introduce now our second speaker. Yes, you are here. So I'd like to welcome to this panel Yann Aouidef, who is a PhD candidate at the Université Paris 2 Panthéon-Assas. In his thesis, Yann explores the benefits of blockchain technology for developing new types of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And I would like to thank Yann for agreeing to replace his thesis supervisor, Bruno Defens, at very short notice. Thank you, Yann, to be here. And you are going to talk about the compliance of blockchain-based dispute resolution mechanisms with the principle of fairness or due process. Yes, thank you, Yann. You have your floor. Thanks.
Hello. So thank you for this introduction, Florence. And yes, actually, Bruno Defens, my PhD advisor, was supposed to be here. He's a professor of economics and specialized in law and economics, also a lawyer. And so this presentation will tackle the topics of decentralized justice and dispute resolution on social media, at the light of law and economics. So the idea of the presentation is first to present you with some details. Decentralized justice, obviously, my precedent speakers did that, but we have to dive a bit on some stuff, then to speak about dispute on social media, and also the definition of fair regarding the law and economics, and give some insight and perspective. So the title is like, would decentralized justice produce fair decision for dispute on social media? First, what is decentralized justice? So here's a proposition of definition, like decentralized protocol that gather an assembly of jurors through a staking process from which blockchain users have the probability of being selected and must then vote on a set of options to be rewarded based on a set of economic incentives. So the important part is like the idea of gather people, pseudonymous people on a blockchain environment. They will have a likelihood to get selected, and then the idea is to put a set of incentives for them to vote among a set of options. So the characteristic of probability, the selection probability increase with the amount staked. The idea behind that is like to make them get involved. You know, the more I put at stake, the more I may tend to take into consideration the case, and we are always speaking of economic incentives, right? So it's not necessarily deterministic, but that's the definition of incentive, and the famous chaining point mechanism. So Federico yesterday presented the chaining point mechanism, but the idea is like an economic environment where people tend to choose the same option without the ability to communicate, because it represents to them kind of the more logic solution. And that's also one of the goals of the decentralized justice, is basically to put this environment to make people vote in a kind of common sense. So that could be a definition of decentralized justice. So the process of dispute resolution. At the core, we have the smart contract, so everything is settled with a smart contract. So let's assume that some users have basically staked some cryptocurrency, and then when you have a dispute, then in this example, like we have two parties, and assembly of jurors will be selected, and they will have then to vote among a set of options predefined by the party regarding some evidence, and then regarding the option chosen, which will be the focal point, then the smart contract is going to execute the solution decided by the assembly of jurors. All right, so I think that's probably, the key point of the presentation is not to define the fairness. And we are going to define the fairness regarding law and economics. So in our topic today, there is two main considerations: efficiency, fairness. But efficiency is not for today, fairness. Well, for law and economics in general, fairness is basically equity and how we will share some economic stuff. Either gain, loss, and it's all about allocation sharing. How we share loss, how we share gain, and that makes also the material of public goods, right? And so basically, for that, we have three approaches. The utilitarian one, which is basically we have a look on whole utility of economic agent and try to maximize, all the utilities of people involved and regarding how this will affect the, like my favorite situation, how this situation will affect the situation of another person. So it's involving basically game theory. Also, you have the egalitarian approach. So basically, we should share equally any profit, any gain regarding the economic action that we have as a society. And the last, like, libertarian approach, obviously, is like we must push forward the individual freedom. So obviously, regarding the approach of fairness, it will depend on how we want to define fairness, and those three approaches are different, and basically will demand different action and consideration. All right, so now we can discuss basically what could be decentralized justice and dispute resolution for social media. So I think the first question will be, what could be the focal point in social media? Again, the focal point is like the option, the situation, the solution that the assembly of jurors will decide to choose, basically. And so basically, regarding this environment of social media, we can ask, like, if the focal point could be political, because people, for them, regarding their norms, the environment of the social media, it will be more logic to vote for, let's say, a left option or right option in the sense of politics. For the socials, like regarding any norm of the society, etc., and considering also that we may be in a pseudonymous social media, so also ask questioning here. And yeah, basically it's like, how can we ensure a fair sharing in a social media? And again, actually, this social media could be decentralized with other requirement. And so that's the main question. What could be for the community around the social media, their notion of fair sharing? We also can ask who are the user and their nationality. So for instance, you have an interesting paper of Bruno Defin, Bariola, and Meuzy on law and equality, basically how the type of legislation of your country will influence on inequality. And the conclusion of this paper is, like, in common law society, basically you tend to have a society with more inequality compared to non-common law society. So there is also a question of the nationality of the jurors, like how they will vote, obviously regarding then the nationality. And also, like with the metrics, we can see that basically most of the dispute resolved by decentralized justice are kind of small. You have very few dispute with big amounts. Most of them are related to market prediction or what we call interoperability, of blockchains, so bridging, etc., etc. But most of them, they are small disputes. So maybe also it could give a signal that at the end of the day, decentralized justice could help for small dispute on social media. And I will have some words in few slides later. And also, so I think we can agree on the fact that the procedural, the process of clearance is fair in the sense that everything is predefined and secured by a smart contract. And so the question rely on the result and regarding all the consideration, including the nationality of jurors and what could be the changing point. If, basically policy could also lead to focal point, etc. So that's some question if those things could happen. Oh, yeah, okay, sure. For the chilling point, oh, what's going on with the? Sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna try to. How am I supposed to get back to the beginning of the presentation? Okay, perfect. So here, no, so the chilling point is like, for instance, let's say we have to, the very basic example is like, let's say we have to meet in Paris. I mean, we have, and assume that we don't know each other, right? I have like no information of you, but we have to meet in Paris. We have interest, right? And let's say we have to meet at noon, right? So where could we meet in Paris? I don't know you, I don't know what's your favorite place, I don't know if you like a specific restaurant, type of food, whatever. Well, maybe for me it will be the basic Eiffel Tower because it's like the most famous, basically, monument in Paris. For New York, could be like Grand Central Station, basically, like literally below the American flag. That's like space that sends signal for people to, yeah, just pick those place. And the idea is like we have an interest to converge to the same option, right? So that's the idea of the chilling point. And the theory behind it is like in a situation where we cannot communicate, then we will tend basically to the more logic, this option that makes more sense because of the signal that those this option send basically. So let me. Yes. So I think now it can be interesting also to discuss more generally on dispute and fairness in social media. First type of dispute we have on social media, I think it's very large, like from different interaction, right? From people feelings to policy violation. Of course, you know, on social media you can like have dispute because you don't like what another person say, but it's like more up to you. And from this to the very kind of frame policy violation, sorry. And also more generally, I think, and it's getting to be more true to some extent, like the digital space start to become a bit like of a metaverse. So it's like push a bit forward this idea of interaction in a digital environment as a metaverse. So yeah, maybe also the dispute will be more and more related to what we could have as a relation in the non-digital world. So, and even some company, I think of Meta, obviously, like want see the future with a metaverse. So that's also some thing that we can have in mind and question. And also, we see now some decentralized system, literally decentralized network. And the idea is like to avoid a centralized entity to be able to decide on what should stay or not on the social media. And with that, we can basically question, so what could be the sharing of the loss and the gain, so in general, so how we decide on what should be basically removed or not. And by design, it's decentralized. So yeah, I think it will question that, yeah, it's like the gather of many persons from different jurisdictions, different norms, social education. So yeah, leading again with many questions regarding economic theory. And I think one of interesting part, kind of touchy, I guess, for legal practitioner is like, actually, economics theory don't expect justice to be fair in the sense of results, meaning it's like the economic process, basically like maximization, optimization of functions, thinks that at the end, it's like the market of whatever is going to bring the more relevant situation. Here, our sharing of gain, so the allocation, you know, and you have, for instance, this illustration with Adam Smith and the invisible hand that's managing everything. So here, for that, I think Bruno would have like to say like it's like a guideline, because obviously social media are part of our life, so there is also a strong social, philosophical, political aspect. And the idea is not to say just the justice should not get involved into this, but just like with this economic aspect, maybe keep this in mind. And also more related to decentralized justice is like, yeah, when you have to vote and as the majority to get reward, maybe your freedom of decision is not the same if you have wealth or not, and that's also a thing to question, obviously. So that could be like kind of nomenclature that I could propose kind of basic, but I think at least you have like the critical dispute, and I think like centralized centralized resolution as the overboard of meta kind of makes sense, because yeah, you need like different expert, sophisticated person, and also make sure that you have many nationality represent and with a real ability and independency to decide. So that's, I think, interesting. And then, yeah, you have from mid to low, or here you have more questions, like, so it will depend of the user approach. Basically, it could be like dispute related. So of like, do we want to have political stuff on media or social media, or we just want this social media to stick with some topics, whatever. It could be very broad and not necessarily violating any policy or norms, but more related to basically users' feelings. And yeah, here it could be like either users like report or whatever and ask for removing some contents, versus the centralized justice like still yeah, potential users, but with the idea of focal point. And yeah, the law dispute, I think like probably AI will basically overtake this yeah, area. And I think like to conclude some perspective, for decentralized justice, I think we should stick with the fact to analyze the jurors' behavior, again, with the question of their nationality, maybe see, and obviously it's not that easy to have this information, but yeah, have a look. It's on-chain, it's like possible regarding the time zone and whatever, but it's important to have a look on that and see how basically they will yeah, behave. Also, decentralized justice is built on top of blockchain and public blockchain. So the development of those blockchain are quite important to make it accessible. You know, I think especially on fees to interact with the blockchain, and finally the scalability of dispute resolution in general. Like as we heard this morning, you have like millions of disputes per year. So obviously you need a scalable solution, and it's obviously first rely on the infrastructure of blockchain, and second, yeah, the ability to gather relevant jurors to process those disputes. Thank you.